Whenever transit Saturn moves over your moon sign, and when it is one sign behind your moon sign and then one sign after your moon sign, this transit of Saturn is called 7.5 year Saturn. So right now, who are going through 7.5 year Saturn? People whose moon sign is Tula Rashi, whose moon sign is Vrishchika Rashi and Dhanush Rashi. All the three Rashis are going through the transit effect of Saturn, which is popularly known as Sade Sati. What is this 7.5 year Saturn? 7.5 year Saturn is basically comparable. You can compare this to an exam time. If I ask you whether an exam is good or bad, you cannot say it is good or bad without knowing the background of the student. For the good student, the exams bring out the best in them. And for those students who have been neglecting their studies, during 7.5 year Saturn, they will go through a lot of failures. So this is how you should look at 7.5 year Saturn rather than being frightened about it, scared about it, and always asking, do you know that I am in 7.5 year Saturn? So I'm in a very bad time, so this is why it's all happening to me. Instead of this attitude, you should look into the remedies that are discussed, that are related to the transit of Saturn. So Mr. Rakesh Ramsamuj has said, Saturn has taught me many good lessons in the past years. This is exactly what Saturn is all about. Saturn is, like I told you, the examiner or the exam time. So obviously Saturn is a great teacher. And he is also the planet for justice, which is why Saturn is exalted in the sign called Tula or Libra, which has a symbol of the weighing balance, that which you always see associated with justice. In the court of law, you will see something, the weighing balance always kept around. Even in films, especially Indian films, you will always see that there is a blind lady, a blindfolded lady with the weighing balance. This means that Saturn is basically going to give you justice. Justice for the good or for the bad. So there are people who are asking me whether Saturn is good for me in my horoscope, as per my horoscope, because I'm born in Tula Lagna or I'm born in Rishabha Lagna. Tula is Libra ascendant and Rishabha is Taurus ascendant. I'm a Kumbha Lagna person, an Aquarius person, Aquarius Lagna ascendant person. And therefore, I don't have to worry about Saturn because Saturn is my friend. I don't think any student can tell that I don't have to worry about my exams. Exams are definitely a point of stress. You have to be very careful during exams, and it is not like before. Ashok R has asked this question. I developed interest in astrology when my Sade Sati started. Usually, people say that when you're going through 7.5 year Saturn, you look for answers elsewhere. You can't find why things are happening the way it is going about. And you automatically look either towards God or the next thing you want to know is, what is there anything in my horoscope that may reveal why I'm going through these kind of stress. So such a time often leads a person to astrology, because no other science is capable of explaining why we undergo certain kinds of experiences during certain times in our life. So, like all the judges in the world teach a lot to people about their wrong action. Saturn is definitely a planet that gives you wonderful lessons. So after the person comes out of prison, most probably is a changed person. He has mellowed down, he is not, he knows the consequences, and therefore he becomes very careful. That's the reason why after 7.5 years Saturn, always the person gets smarter, gets better because he's been through a lot of lessons. He has been through lessons, and the lessons of Saturn is hardly forgotten. Then the people who say that I frequently visit temples more often than ever before. This is one of the best remedies during the 7.5 years Saturn cycle because you have to contact the higher consciousness, the super consciousness, the God consciousness or the superpower in this world. This is your way of saying that I recognize a greater force, a force that is above me, and that signals, that is in a way a signal to the universe that I accept that I am not that big, and there is always something bigger than me. And so in 7.5 years Saturn, one's superego disappears. 7.5 years Saturn will make you go through such kind of lessons which will say that, during which you will learn that you are not that big. Before 7.5 years Saturn, you would have solved things very easily, and that could have given you a sense of the superego. I am the greatest, as the great boxer Muhammad Ali used to say, I am the greatest. But at a later stage, you realize that there are many things greater than you, and you are not the greatest. So whenever Saturn afflicts, he always afflicts his afflictions. His test does not come without notice. He has a time during which he tries to give you these kind of problems. So that's very nice of Saturn that he does not give exams on any day randomly, but he gives only exams on during the Saturn dominated times like 8th, 17th, and 26th on Saturdays on the nakshatra of the 8th nakshatra Pushyami, the 17th nakshatra Anuradha, and the 26th nakshatra Uttarabhadra. Vivek Joshi says that Saturn has made me more religious. This is very, very common because people during trouble times at least go towards God. That may be the reason. But this is not just an escapism, it is actually one of the best medicines for those who are going through troubled times. There is another way other than going through going to the temples. You should also look at donating money, doing charity generously on Saturn dominated times, during Saturn dominated dates. Rahul Shah is asking, what about if Saturn aspects all the planets of the horoscope except Rahu and Ketu? I think this is Mr. Rahul Shah is referring to his own horoscope or a horoscope in particular with reference to maybe the Janma Rashi, the Rashi chart. And so if Saturn aspects all the planets of the horoscope, then this person is surely Saturn dominated. But Mr. Rahul Shah has not stated what is his uh, lagna. Deepak Kumar. Sir, I have a doubt for long days. I have Saturn 8th in Kumbha, Sun in the 10th house. The Sun is aspected by Saturn 97% and Jupiter 80% aspect from Jagannatha Hora. What will happen to exalted Sun? If Sun is in the 10th house in Mesha, then he's probably referring to his Lagna as being Karkataka, and which is Cancer. The Sun is not a good planet because he is the lord of the second house, a Marakadipadi. The Sun is aspected by Saturn, but the exaltation of the Sun is very good. And during the Dasha of the Sun or the Antar Dasha of the Sun, there will definitely be good results too, but it will come along with high stress because he is lord of the second house. Venkat Murli, sir, irrespective of Saturn is functional malefic or functional benefic, 7.5 years Saturn will give little trouble, is it not? So this is often heard in India, at least where they say that I have, for me, Saturn is my friend according to my horoscope, and therefore I don't have to fear 7.5 years Saturn. It is like during your class days, during your class in school, your teachers were very friendly. But during the annual exam, when you're writing the exam, they aren't friendly. They're very strict with you. They will not let you copy, etc. So there will be a difference between the Saturn of your horoscope versus the transit of Saturn. It is always better to safeguard yourself against 7.5 year Saturn. So worrying about it, do all the remedies suggested. I have done a video on top 8 facts about Saturn, and whenever you have the time, please watch that video. It contains the most important 8 tips that you need to know about Saturn. Does it aid in spiritual progress? Amitabh Kashyap is asking this question for Dhanur Lagna. Again, I think he's referring to his basic horoscope, but being a Dhanu Lagna, Saturn is not a good planet. It is declared as a functional malefic, as the ruler of the second house and the third house as well. So, usually when we say challenging or bad time, etc., it usually affects the material life. And if you work on the spiritual part of your life, then there is always relief. During the sub periods of Saturn, Mr. Amit Kashyap should always try to recite the Mrityunjaya mantra on all Saturdays and be very generous in giving to the helpless people, to the poor people on all Saturdays. What about a debilitated sun sitting with an exalted Saturn? This question cannot be answered very easily because we do not know how close they are and what is the ascendant. So whenever Saturn afflicts a person, it afflicts only during certain times, like 8th, 17th, and 26th. And when the date is like this, for example, day before yesterday, it was yesterday was Saturday, and before that it was a Saturn star, and before that it was 17. So we have a continuous situation where the on from Thursday, because Thursday happened to be 17th, and then continuously onwards from there on, there has been a very strong Saturn connection the last 3 days. During such times, people who have been going through 7.5 year Saturn would have gone through higher levels of stress than before. So if you know this kind of logic, even before these times are happening in your life, you should do all the Saturn remedies, and not only that, you should become very conscious of this and become uh, be patient, avoid anger, because anger is one of the uh, destructive emotions one has, and usually this is mostly seen during 7.5 year Saturn. So I've often heard parents telling me that my child, my son or daughter was not like this before. Before 7.5 years Saturn, he was such a nice person, and now all of a sudden he has become very impatient, as is always short-tempered and does not listen to us. Let me go through the questions. So Rakesh Ramsamuj Tularashi here, he said that, and for him, this is the last 2.5 years of exam time. So I hope all the Tularashi people out there get this message that this is just almost the fag end of 7.5 year Saturn, because at least for Swati Nakshatra people, Sade Sati will end on January 2017. He's also said, though I did learn lessons, difficult lessons, but important to spiritual life especially, that I've already dealt with. Rahul Shah, Sade Sati revealing which type of karma manifestation? This is a very interesting question because you don't know is to be what is to be expected during 7.5 year Saturn. For this, you should actually study your own horoscope, get your horoscope studied by an astrologer, and find out the weakest point in your horoscope. What is what are the major defects in the horoscope? All the major defects in the horoscope, one by one, they are likely to come out during a 7.5 year Saturn. Something is dormant in your horoscope, something that has been brought forward from your past life, that is lying there in your horoscope and in your karma, which is revealed by your horoscope, and all these things surface during 7.5 year Saturn. See, for example, unless the examination is conducted, all students, you look at them, you feel that they're all the same. You do not know what is their strength and what is their weakness. After the exam, you will come to know about all that. So those who didn't study, let's say, mathematics very well, after the exam, when they see the mathematics score, the marks they got in the subject, everyone will come to know about everyone will come to know about this. So it is at only after the exam or during the exam, the person who has neglected a particular subject feels the blow. Therefore, please consider that your horoscope is showing the the plus and minus that you have carried forward from your past life. So the horoscope is basically a tool for that. Manish Sat. How to view Saturn transit from Moon ascendant or Rashi ascendant? Which one will have more effect? And Saturn transit in any Virga chart, if Saturn is ascendant lord of any Virga chart. Nothing to do with the Virga chart. The uh, the main question here is it to be studied from with respect to the moon or with respect to the lagna? There is a separate way of studying the effect of all transits with respect to the ascendant. You can't ignore that. But whatever is stated of 7.5 year Saturn was stated with reference to your moon sign. Therefore, whatever is written against this, you should read it only from your moon sign and do not mix up. So let's say it's like this. Somebody has he has made a write up of let's say your body weight, and he has used the entire article. He's speaking about kilograms, and now that he's talking about kilograms, and you'll have to say that if you're 90 kg plus, then you're obese, and so on. So when you change systems from let's say kilogram to pounds, it no longer applies. So you have to be very careful from what point of view the original text has been written, and then you have to stick on to that instead of changing logic in whichever way you want. The problem with this kind of what you call reading from several point of view is that this usually is a little confusing, because let's say from the moon you do not have 7.5 year Saturn, and then from Lagna you have 7.5 year Saturn. That means you're simply looking for, do I have an exam time? Do I have an exam time? Then if something is happening because of another combination in your horoscope, maybe you're going through a dasha, a challenging dasha bhukti, and then you'll attribute the whole thing to I know why it's happening because Saturn is in the on my lagna or in the second from lagna or one sign behind my lagna. So you tend to uh, sort of increase the uh, you just seem to uh, increase the possibilities for explaining any stress that you're going through. It also happens that for people who are self-studying, let's say you're going through 7.5 year Saturn, and you're going through 7.5 year Saturn, uh, you find that the it's actually very challenging, but you want to assure yourself that nothing is going wrong, because I know Saturn is now going through a very auspicious house from the point of view of my ascendant. It is not good to use this kind of different kind of logics, what we call convenient logic, and try to get only the nice side of astrology, meaning the nice predictions from astrology, and not to be forewarned. Actually, astrology is never negative. It is only a science which lets you know that you are. It just lets you know that you're going through these possibilities, and it is not prefixed also, and you need to uh, just use it as a warning and not think that everything is prefixed and it will definitely happen. I've been always using this example that when you're going on the road, you find oftentimes this road signs telling you there is a dangerous bend coming ahead. There is an S bend, and that S bend is an accident zone, and the authorities have placed the board which says that there is an accident possibility, and it's called accident zone. So it does not predict that there is going to be an accident, but the driver should take note of this board. There's information on this board, and slow down and become more cautious. So going back to the original, the question, is it read from the ascendant or from the moon sign? It's definitely read from the moon sign, and whatever you call as Sade Sati is not from the ascendant. Manisha is asking again, but moon sign will be the same for all people with same moon Rashi, then how Saturn is going to give different results for different people? This is the same, the answer I've given you, that in every horoscope, it is like in the same exam, each student fails in a different subject based on his past. Same way from the horoscope, you will know that this person had done some problem, something with his marriage in the past life. So they have to go through some lessons in the aspect of marriage, and marriage problems are likely to come up during 7.5 year Saturn. If, for example, they have what is called a Putra dosha in the horoscope from right from birth, then it means that the problems relating to children will surface during 7.5 year Saturn or Sade Sati. If the person had been injuring people, has been inflicting wounds on other people, then during the current 7.5 year Saturn, there is a possibility of getting all this back through injuries while traveling. So the first most important thing is you study your horoscope, get to know about all the plus and minus, take out all the minus and write it out, and out of that you find which is most strongly seen in the horoscope. What we mean by saying most strongly seen is if a particular combination is repeated again and again. Let me give you an example. I have done a consultation for a person having Ketu in the 5th house, the Lord of the 5th house in 12th house, and that particular planet with Rahu and with Saturn, which is afflicted further by malefics. And then when I looked into the Ashtaka Varga, the score in the 5th house is very bad, very low. And during 7.5 year Saturn, this person lost his son. So you find that the effects of 7.5 year Saturn varies in accordance to the basic chart. Venkatesh Babu, sir, Vanakkam, can you throw some light for a person undergoing 7.5 year Saturn with Shani Mahadasa and Shani Bhukti, while Saturn is in the 8th house, Meena Rashi, and the 9th house in Bhava chart. So 8th house Meena Rashi means that this person is a Simha person, a Leo ascendant. So he's asking, can you throw some light on 7.5 year Saturn? As I told you right from the beginning, 7.5 year Saturn has to be handled separately. Do not mix this up with any other facts from your horoscope. But you can also add that because you're going through Shani Mahadasha, from that point of view, being a Simha person, Saturn is a high stress planet, especially because he is the Lord of the 6th as well. So he is Lord of the 6th and the Lord of the 7th. And because of that, Maharishi Parashara in Brihad Parashara Horashastra says this person has to do Mrityunjaya Homa and also pray to Lord Shiva on all Saturdays. So keep a diary, maintain a diary, and keep noting what are the kind of experiences that you go through an 8th, a 17th and 26th or Saturdays, or when the dates are ruled by 3 Saturn stars, either Pushyami or Anuradha or Uttarabhadra. If you find repeatedly that you're going through some problem, then you may have to repeat Mahamrityunjaya Homa itself. Get this done with the help of Purohits in a temple and do this on a Saturday. If you still find that the trouble is not coming down, then Maharishi Parashara's second remedy can be used, giving away a black cow, doing a black cow charity on Saturday. While giving away the black cow, please tie some tulsi to the horns of the cow, or at least around the neck of the cow, indirectly stating that God is involved in this remedy, that it is He who is actually doing the charity. So for people like this, where they're running through two things at the same time, it is like you're carrying two weights, 50 kg on one hand and 50 kg on the other hand. So you'll say that 7.5 years Saturn is 50 kg, and then Shani Mahadasha is also another 50 kg. But after the 7.5 years Saturn is over, it look like you will drop 50 kgs and you'll have only 50 kgs to carry. It's no more 100 kgs. So right now, look at it like you're carrying 100 kgs, and therefore you should become very conscious of this first point, not to get scared. It is like many people when we tell them that you're going to go through this exam time is approaching, many fall sick and make it worse. They get frightened. I've seen in my school days people saying, "Oh my God, exams! I'm fearing this. I'm already afraid of this." So they become weaker and weaker and lose confidence. Instead, this what has to be done alone has to be done. You have to study in the language of karma and philosophy. When we say you have to study, all you have to do is to pray a lot and to generously give during uh, certain times. Ashok R is asking us, moon sign more powerful than ascendant. Whenever it comes to 7.5 year Saturn, the moon sign is the most important reference point. But the ascendant is the key to your horoscope because you have to read your horoscope always from the ascendant. Transit is read from the moon sign. The ascendant, along with the Rashi positions, the Bhava positions, has to be interlinked to the Mahadasha and Antardasha. That's a separate system. So this is comparable to three things. For example, if you are looking at life as comparing life as a journey from one place to another, let's say your journey is from Madras to Bangalore or Chennai to Bangalore, then there are three things involved in this journey. One, the vehicle in which you are traveling, and two, the road in which you are traveling, and three, the environment as you are traveling. Now, the environment is comparable to the transit, the cyclone, the good weather condition, bright sunny day, and pleasant weather, good transit of Saturn. Bad transit could be uh, rain, heavy rain, or just you find various conditions with regard to the environment. Whatever is supposed to come from the transit is comparable to this. You can't say which one is more important that easily because you know that everything is important here. But what is the vehicle? The vehicle is your horoscope. So the most important thing in your journey is the vehicle. So your horoscope has to be first understood properly. What is your ascendant? Where is the ascendant lord? Is the ascendant lord in 6, 8, and 12? Is he well placed? Is he in Kendra? Is he exalted? These kind of things. Then second lord, where is he? Third lord. And then after going through all the 12 houses, you have to come to a conclusion about the strength and the weakness of your chart and then classify it as strong horoscope, an average horoscope, or a weak horoscope. For example, this vehicle has got a lot of problems. Then that those problems have to be rectified first if you have to enjoy the good roads and the good weather condition. So people miss this and then only look at the transit or the dasha and antardasha. So the first most important thing is most people do this before they begin a journey. They send the vehicle to the service station, make it all right. So the fundamental thing could be doing the remedies based on the original chart, which means the basic chart, the Rashi chart and the Bhava chart. Find out all the plus and minus and then note it down. Then comes the road, which is the Dasha and Bhukti. So once you find that you're going through a good Dasha and Bhukti, then you should say, yes, I'm in a good Dasha and good Bhukti, let me go a little faster, because this is not a place where I should go very slow. I should take advantage of this road. So driving faster could translate as becoming successful in life. And during times like this, one should not have a laid back attitude, should look very optimistic and go forward. Some people, even when they're given a good road, tend to drive slowly because they're less ambitious, or they are always scared. But there are other times when there is a lot of risks on the road. The road has become quite bad, full of potholes. These are the times when you have to be very careful with your decision making, especially events like your marriage, what we call life turning events, or a major investment, etc. So, after this comes the environment. But during certain times, the environment will become superior over everything else. For example, even if you are going through the best of car, you are riding in the best of cars. For example, maybe a Benz car, and despite that, when the roads get bad, you will find that you also go through a lot of stress. But when you compare with someone else who's going through the journey in a very bad car, a car that is not up to the mark, then you can say that you're better than him. But as far as you're concerned, you will say the road has turned very bad and I hate this road. So this is the Dasha Bhukti. Then which is more important? Is it is the environment more important, or the road is more important? As I told you right from the beginning, it's very difficult to tell that, but you'll have to read these two information separately. Mr. Ashok R has asked something about Punyashani. Now, this is a term that is quite often used in Tamil Nadu. Punyashani is the name given to the transit of Saturn when it comes the second time. The first one is considered negative and the third one is considered negative. But in Tamil Nadu, the second time it comes around, it's considered very positive. If you start doing a research on this, you will be surprised that this rule does not work. For example, a close relative of mine, right when he was going through this Punyashani, and especially when Saturn was going right over his nakshatra, that person met with an accident, and that accident changed his entire life. And ever from that time onwards, he has never come out of it. So you find that this rule, I'm not saying this is based on one single incident. I've been asked repeatedly by my clients, why do you not give importance to Punyashani? I'm going through Punyashani and you're saying this is a challenging period. When I ask them, is it really good? They'll say, no, it is not good. But why would they have invented such a term? Let's use common sense. Punyashani comes during the time when you are in your youth, possibly middle of the life. And during that portion of your life, normally life sort of develops. By using common sense, you can say that that's the time when everything develops. Not only that, you have great energy to work. You are in your youth and you have lots of energy and you have a lot of optimism in life. And all this, and apart from that, when you go to an astrologer during the second part, you're so enthusiastic about it. And you can't, the astrologer finds it very difficult to tell you that you're going through a bad time. Because you went there with a lot of enthusiasm. You say that I want to develop in life, I want to take a huge loan and become an industrialist. I want to start a big industry. I want to start a big business. And you go with all this kind of positive feeling. ideas to an astrologer, and he finds that you're going through 7.5 year Saturn, and he actually does not know what to tell you. He says that, look, everything's going to be all right. And if you ask him, um, but I know that I'm also going through 7.5 year Saturn, he'll say, no, don't worry about that. Everything's going to be all right. And he pats your back, and you also enjoy that. Instead of taking this kind of an attitude, you can say that you have to be very careful during 7.5 year Saturn. So it once happened that an elderly, the parents uh, came to me for consulting the horoscope of their son. And as soon as we started the consultation, I noticed that he was going through the second round of 7.5 year Saturn. I said that your son is going through a bad phase. And on top of it, mainly because it is not just 7.5 year Saturn, even from the Dasha and Bhukti point of view, was going through a very bad time. Rahu Dasha Shani Bhukti was also on. So if you combine both, you get that this Saturn, 7.5 year Saturn is going to be very rough. So why is it that your son has not come for consultation? And they kept quiet. They said, it's okay, sir, you continue the consultation. And they went on. And then somewhere in between, the father got a little upset and said, uh, despite being from Tamil Nadu, why is it that you have not said that my son is running a good time? Because it is Pongu Shani for him. I've been to many astrologers who have said it is Pongu Shani. And it is one of the best Shanis one can, see. So I said, I exactly don't know from where these concepts came. But as far as I know, that 7.5 year Saturn is always an exam time. And then the father asked me that what exactly is possible right now. I said he has to do a Mrityunjaya Homa and recite the mantra of this Mrityunjaya mantra and seek the blessings of Lord Shiva, and also be very careful while driving on Saturdays and 8th, 17th and 26th. I asked what vehicle does he use, and they said it is a motorcycle. And then suddenly they both broke down and said that my son is in the hospital, seriously injured. So you find that this Pongushani concept is quite misleading. If you want to hear only good things from an astrologer, then you most probably should go to a psychologist who will always say good things. Um, if you go to an astrologer who always says only good things, then you will miss the entire information that is available in the world of astrology. If you look at it like this, Brihad Parashara Horashastra comes in 2 volumes, and you will find a lot of statements that we now label as negative statements. Have you ever thought why the Maharshis should have mentioned that in the first place? If they were the ideal astrologers, then they should have not told us anything negative or challenging. So they always should have said, everything is fine, everything is fine. Instead, they gave us the negative statements also, but they also added that this is changeable by effort. So effort is the key. And to put in the right kind of effort, you must be first told what is coming. And without knowing that, you will not be in a position to actually modify your future. So once the plan is revealed, you can take advantage of the information, the plan, and then if it is something that is uh, that's going to give you some good results, then you can be ready for that and possibly stay tuned to that. And if it is also, if it is challenging, then you should work your way through and find out how best you can handle that kind of a period. Therefore, the information should always be given. And please remember that there is nothing called, there's no difference between the first cycle, the second cycle, the third cycle, and the fourth cycle. It is always the same. For a Madhyayu, Amit Kashyap, the second Sadesati proof fatal, especially the Mahadasha of a Maraka planet. Again, this is Amit Kashyap has understood a lot of concepts in astrology. This can be easily seen from his question, because he is using a term Madhyayu, which is in the Ayurveda the the the, uh, the calculations for the Ayush, the Ayurveda, you find that there are these special groups like the based on combinations of planets, positions of planets. You are grouped under Alpayu and Madhyayu and Purnayu, which work separately irrespective of Dasha Bhukti framework. So from Dasha Bhukti, you also find separately some warnings given by Maharishi Parashara for the possibility of you know questions, dangerous situations as far as life is concerned. And but if Madhyayu is already been firm, indicated in the horoscope, then the second round Sade Sati is definitely, as he right is pointed out, may prove fatal. But again, as we always said, the future is changeable if you do the right kind of remedies and be very careful. For example, the power of Saturn, the number of earthquakes that happened on 26th is something you can hardly ignore. Just read the newspaper on 18th or 27th, which is one day after the 8th, 17th, and 26th, or a Saturday. You will find that the front page, the cover page, always carries some news relating to number 8. A flight that took off Saturday, also falling on an 8th, a Malaysian flight. They could not find where it went, and only after 1 year they found that. So you find things like this. So one suggestion is, please do not use the signs to scare people. Use it as a warning sign. On the road, if you see the road sign which says that it is an accident zone, you don't say that people are very pessimistic. The, the authorities are very pessimistic. They're all bad people. We don't say those kind of things because we know that there is no accident there. It's not waiting for us there. It is just a possibility. So why should we take astrology as a predictive science in such a way that everything is prefixed and we have nothing to do about it? It is a science of tendencies tending to happen. Let me give you an example. I want to predict the weather. So I look up at the sky and now it's very bright. I don't see any cloud there. And someone is going to ask me, is it going to rain? I'll say no. And my prediction is going to be 100% correct because without the clouds, it's impossible. But let's say there is some 50-50 situation, some clouds. If you ask me, say, well, I can't be so sure, but most probably it's not going to rain. Then after some time, I noticed that the clouds, have, the dark clouds have appeared. And as I look at them, I think now I'm in a position to tell that yes, it is going to rain. And sometimes it may not actually rain. So this also is a possibility in astrology that despite the fact that we expected certain things to happen, it may not happen. But when I find the whole sky covered by almost jet black, very dark clouds, and then it's the cold wind has also come in. I feel the cold, and then definitely within I can say with 100% certainty that it is going to rain, and soon it will rain. So always think about this example I told you whenever you're reading astrology books or astrology, and do not try that each time you will always get a 100% prediction. According to me, astrology is to be used as a correction, a tool for correction and not for prediction. But if you think that predictions are impossible, even then that is also wrong, because I use an example where if it is dark clouds, meaning I got a lot of clues. So in a horoscope, I find, uh, let's say, 10 different combinations which is showing childlessness. Then I can be very sure that this person is not going to have a child, and I will tell them immediately to stop going in for infertility clinics, to doctors, and trying to change the whole thing and either adopt a child immediately or give up on this. So that is actually a good suggestion. But if there is a 50-50 condition where you have some putra doshas and some combinations which is indicating that they have uh, scope for children too, it depends more on the other person, the spouse, the husband or the wife. And apart from that, medical intervention can also help. Prayers can help. Rahul has been following the conversation and he says, Sir, is there any way by observing the problems we can determine whether the problem is due to vehicle, road, or transit? Wonderful question. Whatever events happen in your life, which is already indicated by a basic chart, those events are definitely coming from the vehicle, your horoscope, and this fault can actually happen more frequently, very regularly, or tends to come through the entire life. For example, a person who has the fifth lord in the 12th house, which indicates immunity problems, autoimmune problems, etc., asthma, wheezing, basically a major health problem, especially concerning the heart. Now, if this condition is there, it will come all through one's life. Now, you don't have to get into Dasha Bhukti reading or the reading concerning transit. Sri Varahamira in Brihad Jataka says that for a blind person, the time of sunrise and sunset does not apply. So you don't have to worry about timing, Dasha Bhuktis or transit, if an event is not indicated in the horoscope. For example, if you read a text which says that in this dasha and this bhukti, a person can be imprisoned, you might tell that to the client or to that friend whose horoscope you're reading. But you would have missed the point that imprisonment was not indicated in his entire lifetime by his horoscope. So what's the point? You actually not use the basic chart. So do not tell anything that has not been indicated in the basic chart. When something indicated in the basic chart has happened, then it has come from your basic horoscope, the vehicle. So this is for Rahul Shah. The road, Mahadasha. Before that, let me give an example. Due to the vehicle. So when a person who came to me saw that his fifth lord is in the 12th, along with malefic planets, he has read my articles on WordPress.com and he told me that he lost his son when his son was just 18-year-old. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. And these are the times I wish that people were taught astrology in school so they could have done something about this quite earlier on before these things happened. And the now, if something that has been indicated in the horoscope has happened, then you can say that it has come from the vehicle. But if it has, but even these events, they look for an opportune time on the Mahadasha and the Antardasha scheme. Let's say your suspension as your vehicle, let's say some part of your vehicle is weak. It will not show up all the time, but in a particular place on the road where the road is very bad, during that, but in that particular stretch, the vehicle will break down. So this breaking down happens in a particular dasha and antardasha, which is what was already indicated in the vehicle. So you have to definitely give importance to the dasha and antardasha because these become the time during which the event will happen. So even here, it's most probably not going to happen out of turn. It will always happen in accordance to the dashas and the antardasha. So you'll have to read everything together. But if irrespective of the road condition and irrespective of the vehicle, it never happen. The weather condition, let's say 7.5 year Saturn, even though the horoscope looks very strong, it looks good. Despite that, in 7.5 year Saturn, the person goes through some kind of trouble. That is because of the weather condition. The vehicle may be good, and the road also may be good, but the weather condition is too bad. Now, this kind of extremely bad weather conditions, we relate to 7.5 year Saturn or Ashtamashani, which is the 8th house transit of Saturn. Again, Venkata Murli Krishna has asked Mangushani, Pungushani, Mithyushani, and so on, but I've already answered this question. Please watch this video again, because let's go on with other questions. Venkat Chinnaya, very interesting question. Dhilip ji, please explain, will karma bind Shani Bhagwan also? I don't know whether this question is relevant to this forum. Thank you. Very interesting question. I don't know exactly what to answer, but obviously it will not work on him because he's the one who's running the whole thing. Anupama Padma, going through Ketu Mahadasha. Please read my article on just Google this article, Ketu Dasha, oh my God, and you will get to know everything about this. In Ketu Dasha, what you have to do is act like a sannyasi, because Ketu wants you to become that, and especially during the last 2 years and 4 months of Ketu Dasha, you should become very careful, increase, change your lifestyle, be more generous in giving, and try not to enjoy life at the materialistic level. Try to be aligned with the spiritual world. Go oftentimes to places of meditation, places of divinity, especially places that are associated with a powerful guru, like Shirdi Sai Baba's place, etc. In Ketu Mahadasha, if I can see that you're a Hindu, so you should worship Lord Ganesha, have a pendant of Lord Ganesha. Ketu is a separatist planet. Ketu is a planet that causes abortions. Ketu is an abortive planet. But be very, very careful during the last 2 years, 4 months of this period, because false promises, false hopes are likely to mess up with your life. And being aware of this Ketu Dasha is one of the best gifts, because people have been taken by surprise in Ketu Dasha. The very fact that you're aware of it, you have won the battle already. At least half the battle has been won. And do not get pessimistic. Do not contemplate on, a lot of people in Ketu Dasha, the ending, when trouble goes too high, they think that life isn't worth living. Those kind of statements. Very often they send me by email or SMS or WhatsApp. I keep telling them that this is a phase where you have to say that even this shall pass away. And Ketu actually shows the spiritual nature of ourselves and tries to, it's like waking you up and saying, look, Why are you so much into attachment? Why are you so much worried about all these things? These are all transitory in nature. This is the very nature of human existence, Maya. And so don't be duped into thinking that this is real. So Ketu, Om Dhuma Ketve Namaha. Ketu is connected to the smoke, and smoke will give you a lot of, you know, false. For example, when you look at the cloud, you can see some forms there. So people say, I can see this and that, but they're all products of mostly hallucination. So Ketu will tend to give you hallucination. If you are into any type of intoxication, and this is not for Anupama, it is generally, if you are into any intoxication, please give it up. If you have any addiction, please give it up. Go more and more into the spiritual life. Read Ramana Maharshi, read Jesus Christ, Buddha, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and so on. Murad Ahmad. Sir, any recommendation for Saturn, Sade Sati, Tula Lagna, Saturn in third of Sagittarius, Purvashada, retrograde. There is opposite aspect from Mars. I'm not very sure. He said Tula Lagna or Tula Rashi, but Mr. Murad Ahmad, please go through my video on top 8 facts about Saturn and maintain a diary. Keep checking if you're continuously going through the challenging periods on Saturdays or 8th or 17th or 26th. How are your Saturdays? And how are your 8th, 17th, and 26th? During these times, Saturn gives its negative effects. If they repeatedly happen to you, even without going to an astrologer, all of you out there can know that you're going through a bad Saturn time. India is dominated by Saturn because India got its independence during the 8th nakshatra, Pushyami. Got its independence on 15th August 1947. August happens to be the 8th month, and 15/8/1947 adds up to 8. It became an Indian, republic on January 26th. And the first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, ruled India for 17 long years, 17. You know, therefore, that Saturn is definitely dominating India. If you do the Kurma Chakra, you will find Delhi, the capital, is falling in the sign of Makara, which belongs to Saturn. So, at least in India, we have to be very careful with the number 8 and Saturn. When Murad Ahmad said that I have Saturn in the third house, Sagittarius is definitely referring to Tula Lagna. So I don't know what is his moon sign. And this is actually a good combination because for Tula Lagna, Saturn is declared as a functional benefit. And being in the third house during the periods of Saturn, there will be definitely improvement. But the only point is he is added there is an opposite aspect from Mars. But if you want to really know whether Mars is strongly aspecting Saturn or is there a mutual aspect between them, you have to feed your birth details into a software like Jagannath Hora and go through the aspect table and find if the mutual aspects are very strong. If the mutual aspects are very strong, then you will have to do a lot of remedies on Tuesdays. Do not do anything big on Tuesday. Tuesday could be a spoiler. Basically, Mars is a spoiler in your horoscope, and therefore red is an unfavorable color. And during the Tuesdays, please be very careful with whatever things you do and say, and try your best not to do anything on Tuesdays. If health permits, you should consider uh, doing blood donation, giving away blood. Uh, Another way is to offer red items to the poor people. Nikunj Patel, sir, I'm passing through Sade Sati and I have Saturn in my chart, 12th house and Capricorn. Again, as I was telling right from the beginning, do not mix up the systems from the natal chart and the reading with Lagna, and then again speaking from the point of view of Sade Sati. So please avoid this. But let me tell you at least that since you have Saturn in your 12th in Capricorn, then it's not. I assume that your Lagna is Kumbha Lagna. Uh, Only then it happens, but not necessarily because in the Bhava chart, Saturn may not be in the 12th. But let's say that even in the Bhava chart, Saturn is in the 12th, and therefore you are Kumbha Lagna. Then Saturn in the 12th gives two results, more than one result, of course, because Saturn is considered a positive planet. But being the Lagnadhipati in the 12th, you should become very careful with your investments. As long, if you are a business owner, then you should be very careful with your investments. Because whenever you say Lagnadhipati, Lagna Lord in 12th, I, Lagna is I, 12th is loss, I will lose, I lose, this kind of things you can coin these statements based on these keywords connecting to the houses, I and 12th, loss. So if you find that you've been having trouble with your savings, then the other alternative is to fulfill the horoscope conditions by losing. By losing means by giving up voluntarily on Saturdays. What is the good side of this? Saturn is in its own house. So when you read the Mahadasha and the Antardasha effects, Maharishi Parashara is asking us the question, is Saturn in its own house? Then he gives you 4 or 5 positive statements because he says that Saturn is in its own sign. Then in the next paragraph, he says, is Saturn in the 8th or 12th, or sometimes 6th, but 8th or 12th, he keeps repeatedly asking for Saturn. And if you get an S for an answer, he says a lot of point 1, point 2, point 3, all challenging situations in life. So one way is to release birds, animals, and fish kept in captivity, and especially change your lifestyle. Be sure that you will not get into problem with the government, and play very safe with the police. Uh, and if possible, you can join up with a social service organization like Rotary Club or Lions Club and do some projects within the jail. Saturn the 12th, the more you give freedom to others, the better it gets. And avoid, if you are a non-vegetarian, avoid non-vegetarian on Saturdays. And of course, I forgot, crow feeding is one of the best remedies for you. Mr. Ashok, you have said not audible, and now you say it's okay. I don't know whether you heard what I said. Rakesh has asked, how's the rest of the period of Libra moon sign people? And it all depends on so many other factors in your horoscope, but I can say definitely for Libra moon sign people, the good news is that 7.5 year Saturn is coming to an end on January 2017. And if you want to really know this, you have to look at your Ashtaka Varga and find out the net score in Ashtaka Varga in the sign of Vrishchika. If it is more than 30, you don't have to worry much, but in case it is less than 22 or 23, etc., then there is a need for concern. And the same way in Saturn's Ashtavarga, if you find a 0 or 1 or 2 in the sign called Vrishchika, then the trouble is still not over. You'll have to wait till Jan 2017. Otherwise, if you have a good score in Saturn's Ashtavarga in Vrishchika, then we can safely say that your 7.5 year sadness effect is really come down. It is tapering, gradually tapering and tending to become zero. UT cementum fissuris is said nothing wrong with Saturn in the 12th. Bhava Karaka in its own house provides detachment and spirituality, being a moksha trikona. Now, this is often what happens when we mix up systems. When astrology is looked into, we normally look at it from the materialistic point of view. But as he says that UT cementum says that he's talking about another angle to life, moksha, and all that. So, from his point of view, that is correct. But if the person is not spiritually aware, uh, is not awakened, then this will not apply, because for him it will be still a bad period. Because what is detachment and what is spirituality? What is moksha? Moksha is actually, like, for example, Gautama. He uh, he gives up his kingdom and becomes a monk the next day. He becomes a sannyas the next day. So you find that for him the rules are different. So he is very happy doing that. For another person who loses his kingdom and not spiritually inclined, he is definitely not happy about it. So the happiness and unhappiness is relative to the person who is either materialistic or spiritualistic. For the spiritual person, losing a kingdom is happiness. For a materialistic person, losing 10 rupees is like losing a kingdom. So we find that when we are discussing astrology, we are actually looking at it from the materialistic point of view most of the time. And uh, if you understand this concept, you can go through this kind of contradictions in astrology. Viewpoints are very important. We exactly don't know. It's so difficult to say whether something is good or bad. For example, the let's say we are dealing with we are doing the horoscope of a person, let's say 25-year-old, and then we say that during this time it's very unfavorable because your father is most probably going to pass away, and let's say that happens. Then the father is an industrialist having millions of dollars of assets, and who takes over? The prince takes over. The king is dead. Long live the king. So the next person takes over. So if you are looking at the horoscope of the prince during that time, can you say whether he is running a good time or a bad time? If you say he is running a good time, how do you account for his father passing away? And if it's a bad time, how do you account for the becoming the king? So life has its own contradictions. So in astrology also you should expect these things. So I'm planning to do these kind of discussions uh, every Sunday, same time. If you want to be notified of this, please subscribe and stay in touch. Please let me know how you came to know about uh, this live stream. So I'll also know what kind of messages you're getting, and uh, so please don't forget to subscribe. And you may also ask your questions beforehand. Maybe you can send this to my email ID. I will type the email ID somewhere beneath this video. And whenever you find the time, you can send that. If you like this live stream, please hit the like button. That will tell me whether I should continue doing this kind of programs. UT Cementum has commented, depends how much he loved him. How much he loved him. If he didn't, then it's good inheritance of power and wealth. Okay. Sir, please suggest if it is good or bad. I have sat in the 7th house in Scorpio. I'm Taurus Lagna. I'm going through Sade Sati. I have sat in the 7th house in Scorpio. So therefore he is, of course, a Taurus Lagna person. And this Sade Sati is quite sensitive because this Sade Sati is also involved with the same place where Saturn is in its natal horoscope. So you have not told me what is your Dasha and Bhukti. Dasha and Antardasha. Saturn the 7th always indicates delay in your ventures. In fact, it tries to delay because Saturn the 7th is an obstructive. 7th house is the way, and when Saturn sits in the way, it's always an obstruction. Dennis Kovacevic, sir, how is this period for Meena moon people? Meena moon people are not having any issues about Sade Sati or Ashtamashani, so I don't know. There's nothing negative. Everything looks positive. In the next issue, in the next live stream, I'm going to talk about general astrology. It will not be focused on Sade Sati. I have to show. This is taken from Astrology Diary. So you find a graph. This graph will let you know the ups and downs based on every single planet that moves in transit as far as the transit theory goes. So this is for each sign. And this diary is available on Flipkart and Snapdeal. Sri Durga has asked me, sir, will the live streams be recorded also? I think it will be recorded. This is also my first time, and hope it is recorded. If it is recorded, it will be available always on YouTube. Saturn in the 7th house in Digbala, very powerful. Yes, Saturn in the 7th is having Digbala. The directional strength is in the western side. So during the sub periods of Saturn or the main periods of Saturn, moving westwards will give you fortunes. That is what Cementum is telling us. Of course, he's also added if it is in good dignity. So most of you have been asking with reference to your horoscope. Say for example, last question, Saturn in the 12th house for Virgo ascendant. Remember that you have to ask only from the Bhava chart point of view. Do not mix up. When you see the Rashi chart, don't use it for counting the houses. As far as planetary positions are concerned, use the Bhava chart. And since all of you are interested in astrology, the first advice I have for you is that you should download Jagannatha Hora and feed in your day, time and place of birth and look at the Bhava chart, use equal of system to avoid all confusions. And if it is Virgo ascendant and then you have Saturn in the 12th, if it is in the 12th Bhava, then this is not good because Saturn in the 12th is the lord of the 5th house in the 12th house. So you have very, very strong Putra dosha. And for this Putra dosha, you should spend on your, you should spend on orphan children. So So go to an orphanage, sign up in the orphanage for taking care of a child, and every time you make the payment, let it be a Saturday, because you are having the fifth lord in the 12th house. We have 8 more minutes to go, so I request all of you to ask questions. And what are the other questions I have? Please type the entire question. If you type part by part, I won't know. I will not know the continuity. Vijay Shankar Karumuru. Sir, Virgo ascendant, Saturn in the sixth house. Beneficial. Yeah, because if Saturn is also in the sixth house in Bhava chart, this is beneficial because Saturn is the lord of the sixth in the sixth, and this is a Viparita Raj Yoga, confirmed Viparita Raj Yoga. So you don't have to worry about your fifth lord being in the sixth house, because it will tend to be more on the positive side, because Saturn is the uh, the lord of the sixth, and that too it is Kumbha Rashi, and Saturn's Mula Trikona is in Kumbha. So you find you will be able to solve problems during Saturn periods, especially dashas and antardashas. I have Saturn in the 10th house alone. I am a Libra ascendant. I've been told that this is a very difficult Ketu. As I've been always telling that as far as Ketu is concerned, you can't read this by simple rules. You have to find out what planet Ketu is associated with, which planet Ketu is connected to, because Rahu and Ketu are like chameleons. They keep changing their colors. They don't have a constant nature. It depends on so many other factors. I am in Mercury Mahadasha, Rahu Antardasha, and I have a severe skin problem, eczema. Does this end when Rahu Antardasha is over in June? I am a Kumbha Rashi. Thanks. I think it is better to study your horoscope, because the skin problem is mostly connected to the overall horoscope and not to Dasha Bhuktis. That's the reason why modern medicine is not able to work so well on skin problems, because all these karmic problems, you find that science is unable to solve them quite easily. So there is some kind of obstructions in this, because many diseases are called karmic diseases, and karmic diseases are usually the chronic ones. Despite medicine, it does not go away. English medicine especially works on bacterial infections and other kind of infections, and so antibiotics is good. But things like diabetes or blood pressure, uh, skin diseases, other problems which can't be treated by antibiotics, they are most probably karmic in nature. I'm a Cancer ascendant, Saturn the 8th, aspect Sun in the 10th. Please suggest what kind of job. By one rule, at least Sun in the 10th is quite favorable for a government job, unless there are other conditions that are not supporting this. Unless there are other conditions which is working against the Sun in the 10th house. But Saturn the 8th, you'll have to check how far the third house aspect is exactly falling on the Sun. Don't use the physical counting method like Saturn 1, then 2, 3, and then say Saturn is aspecting the Sun. Feed the same your birth details into Jagannatha Hora software and find, using the tables option, the table of aspects option, and find whether Saturn is aspecting the Sun or not. Neem is the best for skin. Good, that's a suggestion. That's why in India, most of the time you find the neem tree being worshipped, and there are many rituals using the neem, where the neem is used to beat a person all over the body, and that was their way of connecting the neem to the problem. Good. For Virgo ascendants, Saturn in the sixth house as well as in the 12th. Yeah, as I told you already, as fifth lord you have answered. Okay. So I am a Leo ascendant. I have Saturn in the 12th house. Whenever Saturn is the 12th, you will have to lose through Saturn. So do all the remedies where you will lose through Saturn. Saturn in the 12th is not good. But again, please check the Bhava chart. Sometimes it may be in the first house also, or it may be in the 11th house. Who knows? So please check the Bhava chart before you say that your Saturn is in the 12th. With regard to the divisional charts, let me tell you one thing, that we have very little information on how to use the divisional chart. So we assume that we have to use our own common sense here, because Maharishi Parashara has given us the methods on how to use the Rashi chart, and then we are supposed to use it in the same way. And there is no special training for how to use the Rashi chart. For example, in the Navamsa chart, there is a situation which lets you know if a planet is Vargotama. So what we mean by that is a planet in the same sign in Rashi and also in the same sign in Navamsa. So these are very nice points. So you look at any planet in Vargotama in any of your divisional charts, and that particular planet is quite strong in that particular area in your life. Same way, if a planet is elevated in Navamsa, we are told repeatedly that that planet's dasha periods and antardasha periods tend to become good. You should use divisional charts only along with the main chart and not separately. Suppose you find in the basic Rashi chart, Jupiter is debilitated, and in one of your, for example, in Navamsa, Jupiter is exalted. You should give more importance to that, because it's a finer aspect of the Jupiter's placement in the Rashi chart. Same way, if you find in Dashamsa a planet in the 10th house, and that planet is also in a very Raja Yoga planet in your main chart, then surely you can bank on it as one of the main planets involved with your career breakthroughs. Same way, the question that is asked is about education. So if a planet is connected to the houses of education very favorably in the basic chart, and then in the D24 chart also, the same planet is well placed and well connected to the same houses, then it is a telltale sign that this period is going to be wonderful. So do not look at the divisional chart separately. You will not find any mention about this as a separate science. You only have to read it like a normal chart. Deepak Kumar, my dad has Saturn in ascendant in Meena. He is getting stress problems. Please suggest a remedy. You have not mentioned what dasha and antardasha the person is going through. Please make the question crisp and clear, because when you say something, you first start writing the ascendant, then the question, and then the dasha and antardasha the person is going through, and then possibly the moon sign as well. So I think we have come to the end of this live stream. Thank you so much for watching this, and do not forget to subscribe and press the like button. Based on the response that I get from my viewers, I will continue with this program. So thank you so much for watching. Namaskar.